welcome to First and Filoni. This is the bowl season edition. Andrew made it through another season, man. How do you feel? How do you feel it's been so far?
It's been all right. Just kind of mind blowing, and once again, before you know it, it's all said and done. I feel like we say that every year.
Yeah, these
Wait,
14 weeks sure went fast. It seems, right? Um, but it's my favorite time of the year, man. I love bowl season. Even though some of them don't mean as much as they used to, it's still fun to me. We got a bunch of G5 schools this weekend, a couple good matchups, I think. Um, but it is what it is. It's coming to an end. We got about 5 weeks left, 4 weeks left. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and get right into it, man. Coaching Carousel. It's been 2 weeks since we've been on here. There's been a couple big names, couple of them that we've called, a couple of them that kind of are surprising to me. So I'm just going to list a couple of the coaches who are at new places, and then we can kind of just lead on conversation wherever we need to go. Um, Elko to A&M, that whole Mark Stoops situation, I feel like we've covered pretty well. We have Kurt Signetti to Indiana. Manny Diaz just recently announced to Duke, which I think is a brilliant hire by Duke. Jonathan Smith to Michigan State, which I think is phenomenal. The guy from Oregon State. Willie Fritz to Houston, and then Levy to Mississippi State, and Summerall to Tulane. Um, Andrew, I'll let you have the floor here. Which coaching carousel, kind of surprised you? Which one was the best hire? Which one was the worst hire so far?
I really don't know. I think um, really three. I mean, I think the Willie Fritz hire at Houston was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he's going to try to revamp that program back because back in the day they were competitive.
Yep.
Um, I really like that Levy hire out of Mississippi State.
Yes. Yes.
To me, I think that's one of those low key, but I'm bringing back like the Mike Leach air raid attack. I mean, he's going to sling the ball out as long as he can get a good quarterback. To me, I thought that was probably the best hire throughout the group. If I had to pick another one that I really didn't care for, I'd have to say Diaz going to Duke.
Really?
He struggled a lot at Miami, and yeah, he struggled a lot when he was at Miami. Of course, he wasn't there long, but
His
as
worst
far as a
season at
defensive
Miami was
line
7 and
coach, yeah,
5.
he's good. But yeah, but he really didn't compete a lot in the ACC.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
I mean, 7 and 5, you had the University of Miami back, and he's not going to get the talent that Miami has at Duke. But the only thing that I think will help him will probably be him being a defensive coordinator at Penn
yeah.
State, drawing some of the northern recruits down to the
Yeah.
southern hemisphere of it.
I can see that as well. I think Duke is a better situation than Miami was when he took over at Miami. I've always been high on Diaz, but I can see why people don't like him and why you say it's not a good hire. I can see that as well. I think he'll do well at Duke. I think it'll fit right into Elko because Elko built that defensive program as it is, and if Diaz can take it over as a defensive program, if he hires the right offensive coordinator, I think it's a good fit. But you could be right as well. Diaz
Lastly,
wasn't a good head coach. So
nah, that's like the one that also I didn't think was another good hire. Well, to him it was a good hire because he got more money. Was what was his name Sinelli going to Indiana? I
Kurt
just don't see
Cincinnati,
what
yeah,
he's trying to prove at Indiana. I mean, you know what I mean?
right.
I mean, I would have stayed at JMU, but obviously the more money factor, but I just don't know what he's going to get out of going to Indiana.
So Mike and I talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I brought up the same point. I was like, I felt like Signetti could gone to a better school than Indiana, but it's Big Ten money. There's going to be a new contract coming up with TV money, and it's a lower ceiling, like a lower goal for him. So if he doesn't succeed in the first couple of years, he'll still have that job. But like you said, I thought he would have been in the running for like a Houston or like Mississippi State or I mean, Michigan State even, right? Like, or Duke. I thought that would have been a better fit for him.
Oh yeah, especially I would have thought. I honestly would have thought more of a Duke because he's only would be going a state away, so he could get his recruits,
Right.
from JMU to come down to Duke.
Well, he seems to be getting them in Indiana. The quarterback, I think, is going to go there. Which McLeod, like, that'd be a. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he's a P5 quarterback.
Oh yeah,
But in Indiana, P5 quarterback, yes, I think so. Um, to kind of answer my own question there, I really, really, really like the Levy hire, like you already said, to Mississippi State. Like to bring back, they try to go with the defensive coordinator after the offensive genius of Mike Leach, and it didn't work with Zach Arnett. I think they bring in that offensive coordinator. They have to get a quarterback, but I think that system's going to be fun to watch. It's always fun to watch Mississippi State when they have that good offense, right? That those Dak Prescott years in 2014, the 2 years ago with Will Rogers and Mike Leach was amazing to watch. Like, I think that'll be fun as well. But the one that I think is the best hire out of all of them is Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. Michigan State is in shambles right now. Jonathan Smith at Oregon State, what he did with Oregon State and Oregon State funds is dang near. I mean, you know how I am with Oregon State. I'm very high on them. But I think he did a great job. They got the number 2 quarterback in the portal now going there with as a sophomore. So they have the quarterback going forward. Michigan State has all that money. I know a lot of it's tied up in their old coach, but I think that's going to be taken away in the lawsuit. So I think watch out for Michigan State in 2 years. Give them 1 year to recruit all of his people with NIL. Watch out for Michigan State in 2 years.
you're saying they're going to come back to glory with the old Kirk Cousins days.
Yeah. The was it D'Antoni, right? What was it when they? I remember. I still remember it to this day because I'm a Notre Dame fan. That daggone fake field goal for the touchdown that was wide open at South Bend. Oh, it irked me. The Tommy Reese days when he was a quarterback. Oh man, it was wide open fake field goal pass. Um, but yeah, I think so, and I could be wrong on that as well. But it is what it is. But it's more fun. I feel like this coaching carousel has gone by really quick as well. Like I feel like everybody was hired. There wasn't a big splash. I mean, Elko, I guess, but that was kind of like a given. Outside of Jonathan Smith and Elko, there wasn't really a big splash. I like the Summerall to, or I don't like the Summerall to Tulane because I feel like it's a lateral move going from Troy to Tulane. Um, but he's also in the same region. It's a good fit. Could Tulane make it into the SEC if they have another good year? That would be my question on why he would go there. Do you think Tulane's going to push to go into SEC or ACC?
Oh yeah, they're going to try to jump to one of them big Power Fives.
Because Tulane was in the SEC back in the day, way back in the day. And I think that'd be a good fit to have another
I
Louisiana.
think that I think they would. Yeah, I would think they either probably try to go to the SEC or the ACC. I would think.
I can see that. And I can see the ACC trying to push for them as well because they're trying to get all the top G5 conferences with SMU coming in. Watch out for SMU in the ACC next year. They're building something down there.
Yeah.
And especially with all that money, they're building something down there. SMU is going to be scary next year. Um, Next thing I want to talk about a little bit as well. We're not going to cover it into too big of detail. We'll go over a couple of the top prospects, but the transfer portal, man, has it been wild already. Let me go through some of the commitments that was in the top like 25 or 30. Aiden Childs, I already told you, Oregon State to Michigan State, that quarterback, he's supposed to be really, really good. Dante Moore out of UCLA, he's transferring. The rumor he's going to go to Oregon, which will be interesting to see. I'm interested to see where Cam Ward goes. Do you think Cam Ward, well, I'll let you answer, and I'm going to run down through a couple of these. But Cam Ward, he's looking like maybe Ohio State, which will be interesting as well. We got Trevor Etienne. He's going to Georgia. We have Rocket Sanders. He's going to go to South Carolina, which is a surprise to me. Shane Beamer is recruiting the blood off, man. Shane Beamer is doing something right. We got a couple people to Notre Dame. We have R.J. Oden and Riley Leonard going to Notre Dame. They get an edge rusher and a quarterback. We have the big off a couple or 5 or 6 offensive linemen going to Colorado, and then Dion getting the number 1 offensive line prospect as a freshman, who will be a plug and play start right at left tackle right away. Um, Brock Vandergriff to Kentucky. Um, there's been some crazy ones. Kyle McCord to Nebraska. It's looking like Dylan Gabriel to Oregon, which I think is dumb. I don't like the Oregon one. So far, out of all the transfer portal news that you've seen here, man, which one do you think is going to be the most impactful, and which one's kind of like the most surprising that's been transferred?
I think the most impactful, I think, honestly, is probably going to be the Travis Etienne going to Georgia.
Yeah, because then they actually get a running back, a
He's
number
going to
one
add
running back.
more depth. He's going to add, yeah, he's going to add more depth at running back room. He's going to have an offensive line to really show his burst of speed like his brother did at Clemson.
The problem with that is,
The
because
one I
I've
really
watched a
don't
lot
like
of
is
Florida.
Gabriel going.
Go ahead.
The other one I just don't really understand is Gabriel going to Oregon.
Yeah, I hate that. I don't think he's a good quarterback. He's not good.
That's no, I don't think so either.
So to speak on the ETN one real quick,
I am kind of curious to see where DJ is going to end up.
yeah, and DJ's looking to UCLA, I think. But ETN kind of surprises, or it doesn't surprise me. I think he wants that number 1 thing. But to be honest with you, he was not very good this season. Johnson Jr. was better and at Florida. And I don't, I love ETN. I think he's great. I think he's going to be a good running back for Georgia, and I think he's going to prove himself with Georgia. But I don't know if he's going to make the impact that Rocket Sanders will with South Carolina. Um, Dylan Gabriel, I agree as well. I think that's a dumb one. Kyle McCord, Nebraska, I think is huge for Nebraska. Even though Kyle McCord, he had an okay season, but he didn't have a
Yeah,
bad season.
that's the Matt Rule era.
Yeah, and they're about to get
Yeah,
that.
but
They're
he's going
about
to
to
get a
flip
fresh
that
start. He
Riola.
already knows.
They're about to flip Riola.
Oh yeah, I know.
That'll be huge for Nebraska. Um, I just think it's really interesting. I think Kentucky, I think Stoops is going to be out with a vengeance this year. Stoops getting Brock Vandergrift, and then Raymond Cottrell, the receiver from A&M, and then he got another running back, and I can't remember where he's from. But Kentucky is going to be damn good next year too, man. Like it'll be interesting to see. I just saw something else before we got on too. That the NCAA is stopping multiple transfers as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust this going forward. Because if not, we're going to see this every single year. And I think it's a little much. I'm all for kids transferring to where they can play, but if they're transferring for money, I'm not there for it. Oh, and one more person we forgot to shout out, which I think is absolutely huge. Shout out Grayson McCall going to NC State. I love Grayson McCall. I thought he's a stud. I think that is huge for NC State if he can keep his grades up.
Yeah, I see. I was thinking about that today. If he can stay healthy for one, as far as the concussions, because I know he had a few of them
Yeah, he's
at
good, dude.
Coastal, but you we got well, I think Cedric Bailey coming in this year, 6'6" quarterback. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping. My thought train is he's going to sit behind McCall this 1 year. Hopefully, he doesn't try to transfer out because he doesn't get any playing time. They can redshirt him. Then after that, he can go on and do things. I'm really looking forward to see Cedric Billy come to Raleigh. I think he's going to be a stud of a quarterback as long as we can just keep him. That's the biggest thing right now, especially with
If
all this NIL shit.
if NC State can get an offensive line, they'll have the young running back in Raphael. They'll have a great
Well,
young receiving
we
core.
just picked up we just picked up a center from Notre Dame.
Yeah, so if they can upgrade the
Notre
offensive
Dame starting
line,
center.
they'll have a better quarterback in McCall.
Oh yeah.
They'll have a sophomore running back, a sophomore star receiver, and then a bunch of young freshman receivers coming in, NC State might be decent next year. Like, might be
Yeah,
a 10-win team that they've been craving for years. I called for
I hope
Dorn's
so. I'm
firing.
not.
You didn't. You and Libby didn't. I called for Dorn's firing weeks ago, and he's doing something. He's proving me wrong, man. So we'll see what's going on there. Um, Transfer portal is super exciting to me, man. I think it's fun. I think they do need to cap it. You and I talked about that as well. They need to cap it somehow where you can only transfer once, including a grad transfer, or whatever, and then cap kind of like the money of it. But we'll see going forward. Next thing here, we had the Heisman winner, and a couple of weeks ago, you and I had a conversation. And I think I kind of convinced you for Daniels to jump on the Daniels board, but we called it as well during conference championship. You and I, it was Bo Nix's to lose. If he won that game, if he won the conference championship, Bo Nix would have won. But he didn't, and he played like crap. Penix had 5 weeks where he was just non-existent. My question to you is Daniels the right Heisman this year? If not, who?
I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to pick. I mean, what did how many losses did LSU had? Two, three.
Three, three.
All right, three.
But he had no help with his
Winning
defense.
the last what? Yeah, but I understand that. But I mean, to me, I don't know. See, I'm biased when it comes to it because I feel like you had Penix who led his team, even though he struggled down the stretch, he
Yeah,
still led his team to an undefeated season, and he's going into the college
sure.
football playoffs. I'm
Well,
not taking nothing away from Daniels. I mean, he played his tail off, but
yeah,
I mean, it was Bo. To me, it was Bo Nixon to lose, and he lost it.
yeah, I agree. And my thing is, I agree with you as well. I think it needs to be the best player on the winning team. And if that's the case, I think what's his name? The receiver from Washington should have gotten a shout out too. What's his name? Oh my goodness. Anyways, can't think of it off the top of my head. But Penix as well. I thought Penix, if he would have just been average during those losses, I think it would have been Penix's as well. My thing is Daniels had the better year. And yes, they were stat padding against Georgia Southern and Army. But in their losses, he still had like 300, 400 total yards offense, which is insane. And there's precedent. And the reason why I think it's okay is because there's precedent with Johnny Manziel. There's precedent with Cam Newton. There's precedent with Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson and Johnny Manziel both had 3, 4 losses and that won the Heisman. So I think there is precedent there, right? Um, but I agree with you. If Bo Nix would have won, it would have been no question Bo Nix. I mean, he just that was a really fun game to watch, but it didn't as well. With that being said, conference championship, you had family in town, so you were unable to go. I don't know if you watched any of the games. Did you watch any of the games? What are your thoughts on kind of the games as a whole? Because we're not going
Nah,
to do winners and losers or anything like that. But what were your kind of your thoughts of it going with it?
I know I suck on my picks come conference time.
You and me both, dude. We both went 4-6.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show that you know what I mean. It doesn't matter who's playing who; anything can happen. That's what I also like about like with the bowl games coming up as well. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, the
Teams
best
that you would think
availability
would
because I think
win
FSU
don't.
has a great, right?
Yeah.
Um, I kind of want to spit something off to you. Going off of those games, the two hottest teams right now, we have to say, or the three hottest, or the four hottest teams, honestly, are the teams in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now
We
that's
also
kind of my
learned you
next.
don't bet against Saban.
Yeah, yeah, that right. I thought Saban was done. kind of going with that, right? I thought Saban was done, but earlier in the season, um, kind of with that, right? We learned our lesson, or we should have learned our lesson earlier in the season. I bet against them for Texas game, but outside of that, I bet against them 2 other times and Saban won, right? We never bet against Saban, and that's kind of going forward. We'll talk about the playoff here. Actually, let's talk about it now. Going forward with the playoff here, we have Michigan, Alabama, Texas, Washington. We're not going to make our official picks, but if you had to pick right now, who do you have playing in the championship game? Who do you have winning it?
Uh, I'd have to have Alabama in the semifinal. I mean, in the finals.
Alabama, Texas, right?
That'd be that. Yeah, I think to me those are the two most hottest teams coming in. I just don't
I
think
think so
Michigan
as
has
well.
played anybody but Ohio State, and it also depends on what Penix you're going to get.
Right. Yeah, and it does because Washington looks pretty good. But you never know which Penix you're going to get either. Um, kind of going with that as well. If Penix and that offense is so high powered, I could see them doing it. But Texas just they lost Jonathan Brooks and they still look good, man. They're running the ball without their best running back, probably their best offensive player.
Yeah, I definitely think this it will probably be the year where the unexpected will happen. You know what I mean?
I really hope we get a rematch though of Alabama Texas. And I kind of hope Alabama wins it and then Nick Saban just retires because I think that'll throw a wrench into everything. But
He
I
ain't
don't think Nick
retiring.
Saban's going to retire. He seems
No,
rejuvenated because he goes on Pat McAfee and he loves it, man. He's loving the interviews on Pat McAfee.
yeah, he's not retiring.
Okay, so do you think the committee got the 4 teams right, or do you think Georgia and FSU have a case to state? Because I have a hot
I
take on
don't know because I still don't even know what to honestly think. I feel like FSU got snubbed. I'm not saying that because
it.
I
Yes,
am an ACC guy, but just because you lose one player, let's go back to Ohio State with Cardell Jones. Look
2014.
what happened.
Yep.
That's exactly my point. So I feel like they got shafted pretty good. I mean, to go undefeated like that, win your conference championship, and just because you lose one player, I don't know.
But with that loss of the one player, the 2 games that they played, they can't move the ball down the field. Like that, I think they had
Oh yeah, but I
opportunities.
mean,
I agree with you.
if
I'm
they would
not
have played a little
disagreeing.
bit better in the ACC championship, yeah, I mean, yeah, they would have a valid point. But just because you lose one player, I mean, go back to the Ohio State days.
Right. So who would your 4 be in then? Who would have been your 4? It's a tough question. Who would have been
I
your
mean,
4?
I would have had. I mean, I'm not saying that the committee didn't get it wrong, but if I had to go, you got to have Michigan.
No, I disagree.
Let them go. All right, we're going to have Georgia,
Yep.
FSU, Bama, and Texas. Yeah, I
I would
figured you
have
would.
I would have Washington 1, Texas 2, Bama 3, Georgia 4. And I would leave Michigan out because they got caught cheating. I
Yeah.
don't think Michigan should be in it. And I hope Nick
Now, if
Saban
they win the national championship,
I hope Nick
that's going
Saban
to open up
sits at
another
the
can of
table
worms.
and flops out the Crimson Tide right on it and shows John Harbaugh who daddy is. You,
I can tell
you
you they're not excited about playing.
no, they're pissed because they thought FSU was going to get in and have a cakewalk to the championship.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot
Oh yeah, without
stand
a doubt.
I cannot stand Michigan. And I hope they get mollywopped by Nick Saban. I hope Jalen Milroe comes in and starts his Heisman campaign for next year and gets 5 touchdowns on them. But with that
That's a
being
good
said,
possibility.
this year would have been the best year for the 12-team playoff because here's a list of what would
Oh
have
yeah,
been
100.
the first round games, which I'm why I'm so excited about it. And we can talk about this in the offseason because I'd love to hear your take on it because you're more of a classical college football fan with how bowl games matter and are important, which I super respect. And I understand that aspect of it because I love bowl season. But how fun would these games have been? Liberty at Florida State, which Liberty played a dog shit schedule. I don't know how good they actually are. Um, Liberty at Florida State, Mississippi, so Ole Miss at Georgia, a rematch. Penn State at Ohio State, a rematch. Missouri at Oregon. Now that Missouri at Oregon game, talk about fun
That would
because
have been a good one.
Cody
Yeah.
Schrader, running back, versus Bo Nix, quarterback, would have been absolutely electric, I think. And then the winner of that game would have versed Michigan. Winner of Ohio State, Penn State would have versed Washington. Winner of Georgia, Mississippi would have been Texas. And then winner of Florida State, Liberty would have been Alabama. And I think those games would have been fun because right, Oregon or Missouri versus Michigan. I think Oregon or Missouri would win that. I think Michigan's fugazi because, like you said, they haven't played anybody. Ohio State, Penn State versus Washington. I think they would have won that. I don't know how good Washington truly is, even though they went undefeated. Their defense is still a question. Ole Miss versus Georgia versus Texas would have been the best game out of all of them, right? I mean, and then Florida State, Liberty versus Alabama.
100.
Alabama won that, but I mean, just how fun would the 12-team playoff would have been? You know what I mean, dude? Like this would have been the perfect year because I think 8 teams could
Oh
actually.
yeah, but it's going to come. It's coming. So I mean, we'll finally get to see what it actually will all unfold.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it, man. We're doing Bowl Mania again. $25 gift card to the winner. They must be following the show on at least one of the platforms, so YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. You have to pick all the games, and it's most wins. It's not win percentage, so it's most wins. I'll put the link in our bio. I've already posted it out once. You'll be competing against Andrew and myself. Last year, I won. Andrew came in second by you lost by 1 game, I think, and then tied with you was actually Kyle Rigg. Shout out Kyle, who got the $25 gift card from us last year. We're gonna do each week we'll have episodes, so you don't have to pick the game until the game actually starts. So don't feel like you have to pick all of them right away. Or you can have them as a placeholder just in case you forget. We have 7 of them on Saturday, and then one on Monday and Tuesday. And then we'll do another show before the Thursday game of next week. So we're only picking 9 this week. The records for the season, Andrew, I beat you barely. It was 96 and 49 for me, 93 and 52 for you. So 66 and 40 or 64%. Pretty dang good, I think. Locks for the season, I was 80 and 70. So you still have a chance to win the title here. I think I beat you by 1 game last year or something like that. So I think it's going to come down to the wire again. First game we have on here, we have some action versus I think Sunbelt. Ohio versus Georgia Southern. This is I believe the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Down on Dirty Myrtle. Georgia Southern is favored by 3.5. Andrew, who you got, man?
Give me Ohio.
You have the Maction going with Maction here. I'm actually going the opposite. I'm going Georgia Southern. I like Georgia Southern team. Ohio is 9-3. Georgia Southern 6-6. Um, Ohio's a Ohio's a dang good team. It is the Myrtle Beach Bowl, I believe. Let me pull this up here. Give me 1 second. Yes, it is the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Okay, cool. So you have Ohio, I have Myrtle Beach, or I mean, I have Georgia Southern. No worries there. Um, the next game we have is the Cricket Celebration Bowl. This, I believe, is for the HBCU. There's no line on this as well. It's Florida A&M who is versus Howard. Howard versus Florida A&M. Who do you got?
Florida A&M.
I do as well. Florida A&M. I love them. I like their logo. I think it's a pretty sweet logo, the little rattlesnake there. Um, we have is R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. We have the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana versus Rich Rod's Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Jacksonville State is favored by 3 points. I'm going with Jacksonville State. I've been huge on them all year. Who do you got, Andrew?
Jacksonville State.
Yeah, that one will be a fun game to watch. I love what Rich Rod's doing down there. I'm hoping that he gets a shot at another Power Five school. Next game we have is the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans as well. Um, excuse me. We have the Avocados from Mexico Bowl. I apologize there. We have Miami of Ohio, Maction versus App State. I have App State here. Miami of Ohio did surprise me versus Toledo in the Maction championship though. App State is favored by 6.5. Who do you have?
I went with Miami of Ohio.
They're a good team, man. Their defense is pretty nasty. Next game we have is the Isleta New Mexico Bowl, where we have New Mexico State winner of the Auburn game versus Fresno State, who is a third place in the Mountain West. Who do you got, Andrew? New Mexico State's favored by 3.5.
I got New Mexico State home game.
I have Fresno State here. Fresno State's burned me before in the past. I'm not going to pick against them right now. Although New Mexico State has turned their season around for sure. Next game here. I never thought this one would be this low of a game. And I didn't think one of these teams would be in it, to be honest with you. The Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, Cal versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech is favored by 3. Uh, you've been high on Texas Tech all year, and they've kind of disappointed you. Are you going to go with them here?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to actually go Cal on this one as well. I love Cal's rushing attacks. Go Golden Bears. Looks like we're opposing each other quite a bit on these games, Mr. Cooper. Next game we have is the LA Bowl. This is in SoFi Stadium, UCLA home game versus Boise State. I'm going Boise State here. They surprised me in the Mountain West championship game, yeah. And UCLA is favored by 4. Who do you got?
Did UCLA's quarterback transfer?
He is. He's in the transfer portal. They're on their second or third guy.
Give me Boise State.
Yeah, I think I don't think they've lost but one game since they fired the coach midseason. So Boise's on the tear. Shout out Milwaukee Mike, who got that game right last week. Um, Next game here is our first non-Saturday game. Those are all the Saturday games, everyone. Pretty good slate on the first Saturday here. Monday, December 18th, we have the famous Toastery Bowl. Western Kentucky versus Old Dominion. You going with the Hilltoppers here with their weird logo, or are you going to go with the Virginia local boy, Old Dominion?
I'm going with the Hilltoppers.
I am as well. I think Western Kentucky just has uh, it's offense versus defense here, and I think offense will outshadow them in college football. That's typically what happens. And then the final game that we're doing here is the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, UTSA versus Marshall. UTSA is favored by 13 points. I'm going UTSA.
Yeah, I'm going with the Rovers as well.
All right. Um, that's it. We'll start on the Thursday game, the Roof Claim Boca Raton Bowl, South Florida versus Syracuse next week. We'll preview that as well as the games around Christmas. But that's it for this week. Don't forget to go ahead and register for our Bowl Mania. It's under First and Filoni as well. Make sure you put tag us in the group in it so you can be registered. Right now, we already have 6 people, including myself, already in it. So shout out to all the listeners there. But that's it for us this week, man. Um, I guess we can go one more here. Out of those 9 games, Andrew, which one are you most looking forward to?
I actually am looking more forward to let me find it on here. I just literally had it. I'm going with the Texas Tech and California Bears.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I think I'm more of the Louisiana versus Jayville State just because of Rich Rod. But I think Texas Tech Cal will probably be my other one as well. A lot of G5 teams here in the early goes. Um, but that's how it usually is. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening, whichever you're doing. Don't forget to rate us on podcast and YouTube. 5 stars would be appreciated. And be a friend, tell a friend. And we will see you next Thursday.